Hey everyone, it's Dominic from the Primetime Treasure eBay store and YouTube channel. Thanks a lot for coming by to check out another video. As a reminder, my first ever live show is Wednesday night, October 3rd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you're there. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to make some history with the first ever show. Going to be open-ended format, question and answer, with a main theme of getting started on eBay. So we'll cover a lot of things, probably for about an hour. So I look forward for you being there. That's going to be a great time. And I'm also looking forward to doing this video with you because, as you know, if you've been at my channel for a while, I love doing the what sold on eBay video because I get to get a chance to kick back a little bit and just look back at the last month of sales and compile the ones that sold for the most money and were the most profitable. And those are pretty much one and the same for me because, as you know from watching my haul videos, I tend to source items for pretty low. So usually about $1 to a few dollars a piece. Sometimes I'll pay up a little bit more if it's something I think is going to be really valuable. But for the most part, most of these again are $1 or a few dollar each purchases. So it goes to show you the kind of things that you could do out there. So with that being said, let's jump into the first item. This is a top 10 list. So we will work our way up to the most expensive and most profitable item that I sold in the past month. So let's go David Letterman style with this, and we're going to start off at number 10. This is one that I showed recently in my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. If you're not a member of that group, you should definitely join down below because this is a good example of an item that I feature every day called the Be on the Lookout item, the Bolo of the day. So this is, as you can see, United States history cards. Many of you may be surprised to see something like that and probably didn't know that these types of things existed. Yes, this is made by Upper Deck. You can see the price sticker is over it there. Upper Deck is a company that is famous for making baseball cards, and I don't usually pick up modern baseball cards because they're generally not worth much, but something like this jumped out to me because, one, it's different, and two, they're sealed, and three, when I checked out the comps for it, I realized that this box right here, being flat and rectangular the way it is, I'll kind of back off so you can see it from a wider perspective, is worth a lot more than this one over here, which is this Upper Deck kind of shoebox style one. There we go, right there. That one is also History of the United States cards from the same year, but this is the one that's actually worth much more. That other one's worth, usually around 25 bucks, but this one here sold for 60. Now I had two of them that I picked up for, essentially like $1 a piece, and both of them sold the same day for $60. The thing about this one that makes it valuable is right on the bottom. If I zoom in here, you can see on the bottom corner it says that that this box includes an exclusive bonus pack with a U.S. quarters card. So it's those special cards that people are looking for, and they are included in this box. So now the box in itself is not a complete set. You have to build that over time with multiple boxes. That's why if you have one box or two boxes, these will kind of go pretty quick because they are hard to find. I purchased this as part of a big collection of comic books at an estate sale for $60 total. So all the comic books and these were big giant boxes of comics. And they were good comic books too. So I made all my money back pretty much with one sale. I was in profit by selling both of these. I haven't sold a single comic book, so all those comics are going to be profit. That's my business model generally in terms of what I do. I love to purchase things in big lots, make my money back on one or a few items. And so that's the United States history cards. The price that you see there is exactly what it's sold for. So now we're going to move into the next item. So number 9. Number 9. I love that I have this featured. Wonder if the postcard guy is watching this one and a few other people. Because when I first put this up, people thought that I was only going to be able to get like $15, $20 out of these. I picked up 4 of these for like $5 a piece. They are cast iron, and they are basically what they're known as are fire marks, fireman marks, um, fireman plaques. Basically, what they were signs that you would put outside. Now, these are reproductions, but they are signs that you would put outside of your house or your business to let people know that you have fire insurance, and that if people came by in case of a fire and helped put out the fire in your house, that they would be basically reimbursed pretty handsomely by the insurance company. And so it was also a way to kind of deter arson back in the day. If you could find original fireman marks, you can make hundreds of dollars. But this goes to show that if you have a good reproduction, as long as it's cast iron and it's in good shape, this is the mark for Associated Firemen's Company. How do I know that, even though it doesn't say it on it? You have to do your research. That's one of the things I love about reselling, is just doing research and finding things out like that. Make sure, with these kind of items that don't have any kind of perspective in it, that you do include a measurement. You see right there, I have the ruler there. That is helpful for these types of things, so people can get a sense of perspective. Because otherwise, unless you have something next to it, sometimes people will put like a quarter or a coin next to it, just to let people know they're not getting something that's like this big. So that's just an FYI, kind of little tip along the way. So this one did sell for the price you see there, $70. So I was excited about that. I was hoping to get around 80 for these. There was another one and two others that were like this that I've already sold. I only have one left. The other ones both sold for around $70. So I'm really happy with how I did on these signs. The next one, just to go to show you kind of the diverse types of inventory that I have here that I sell. This is an old a little magazine called Exotique, and this was from 1955, and what you could see here is that this is basically a magazine that was created and devoted to basically some male fetishes of women being kind of in the dominant position, also known as femdom. You could see those kind of things like in here in the book like this. And one of the people featured here is someone I talked to before, which is Betty Page. You could see right here, Betty Page right there, famous for that kind of hairstyle and that kind of look. Anything with Betty Page on it is going to sell really well. There's no nudity inside the book, but there are some pretty kind of risque poses and stuff like that. And but again, nothing. There is absolutely no nudity in it. But again, this is a good example. You can see here, it plays into that male fantasy some guys have of the woman being the dominant person. And there's some guys who really like that stuff, and so they're willing to pay up for old classic materials that have this on it. Exotique with Betty Page is popular, one, because Betty Page is in it, and two, this is an early issue of the book. You can see here it's number 3. That is right there, number 3. And the other reason, it's in pretty good condition, and the other reason is that it's not made anymore. It has kind of an interesting history where the actual magazine was pursued by the federal government, and the person who ran it was sued. The government wound up shutting down the magazine because back in the day they started to classify it as pornography, even though it was not pornography. Again, no nudity in any of the issues, but eventually they did shut it down. So whenever you could find a copy of this, you might want to jot this down, Exotique. I found this in my honey hole that I visit every once in a while, which mostly does have comic books, but does have some other collectibles in it. And this was one that was just kind of tossed in as part of the overall purchase. There was no set price for this. It really was just a toss in. So I pretty much look at this as pure profit essentially. But if you want to factor it into the whole price of the collection, about like $1 for it. So pretty good flip there for $70. Exotique, that's the name. And we have a couple $70 purchases people made from my store last month. This is another one. I wound up taking a best offer on this. I got this through a collectibles haul at an estate. The key word here that you definitely want to know is the words that you see right there, Alex Ross. If you're not into comic books at all, you should know Alex Ross is a famous comic book artist, and this book is devoted to his art, and it's actually, when I open it up, it's signed inside. You could see that right here. And if you pursue comic books for a long enough time, eventually you are going to start finding collections where there are things in it that are signed. Now you can see here, this is limited edition, 31 of 100. Most of the time when you're dealing with signed materials, you do need to have certificates of authenticity to sell them for a good price. This is an exception though, because this is how the book came. You could see there it's already stamped 31 out of 100. It's the official book. So this essentially serves as its own certificate of authenticity. Wound up selling for $70, took a best offer. Very, very happy with this sale here. Again, Alex Ross, and you can see here it's a nice thin book like that. Easily ships out medium mail. It is considered a regular book, not a comic book per se, because it's really just focusing on the art of the author in there. So that's that one. Let's move on to the next one here. Many will remember this if you follow me on my Facebook group. When I found this at the estate sale, it was right at the end of the estate sale. The person who was running the estate sale just brought this out at the moment I was about to check out. And I said, whoa, and I just grabbed it really quick, because one of the things you need to know if you're new to reselling is that these old vintage food items, especially if they have not been opened and they're complete, whether or not it's a liquid like the Crystal Pepsi that I found in the past, or if it's one of these old Nabisco boxes of Cowboy and Indians cookies. Now these are shaped in the same kind of way that the Animal Crackers boxes are shaped, but it's a different kind of motif here that they're selling. Back in the day, people, kids love to play Cowboys and Indians. Really, kids don't do that anymore, but back in the days when, people who are now in their 70s and 80s were playing as kids, that's what they used to do. They used to watch Cowboys and Indians on TV, and they used to play it. So Nabisco, being smart, marketed cookies around it. There are different style boxes, but this is a popular one. This one was in like mint condition. I wound up getting it for a few dollars. It was like $2, and I sold it I took a best offer of $87.50. So very, very happy to make that quick flip on it. It sold within 24 hours. It did not take long at all to sell this one. Light, easy, first class. Be on the lookout for, you might not exactly find this item. It's challenging to find, but, in general, just look for these old vintage food items, especially if they are full. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And now we're going to start for the next 5 items. We're going to start to deal with some $100 plus sales. Those are the types I really love. This one here is a graded comic book. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 265. When I say graded, if you're not familiar with it, basically what makes this valuable is that it is sent off to an official comic book grading company, CGC. They will grade it on a scale of 0 to 10. It's almost impossible to get a 10, although they do happen once in a while. 10 would be gem mint. This one here is in the near mint range at a 9.6, and so that is a very desirable type of grade. 9.8 is a more sought after grade, but 9.6s will sell pretty well. Important thing about this that makes it valuable for a collector is that it's the Amazing Spider-Man. There are lots of Spider-Man comic books out there. There's the Web of Spider-Man, there's Marvel Tales, there's Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, there's one that's just called Spider-Man, which is a more modern one, but the Amazing Spider-Man has always been the most popular Spider-Man title. And when you start dealing with some of those issues that are, in that mid 200 range or lower 300, there are some very popular books there. Now, this one isn't the most sought-after book, but it is popular because it does have Spider-Man in the black alien costume there, and that is a popular costume that he's in. It bears similarity to the costume that was worn by Venom. There is a Venom movie coming out this month, so anything with Venom in it will also be something that you might want to list if you could ever find some Venom. He looks kind of like Spider-Man, but he's got really sharp teeth. But anyway, this one here sold for the price that you see listed, $120. Now, this one was purchased through a large collectibles haul at my honey hole that I go to, so it's kind of worked into the total price. This is basically the price of everything that I wound up getting there was a little bit more than $120. So this was really my item that I kind of get my money back for the entire collection, and then the rest of it I sell off as profit. So this is kind of my get my money back item there. So let's move on to the next one here. I feature this as well in my Facebook group. This is the Amazing Spider-Man 238. I, believe it or not, found 2 of these at an estate sale haul for $1. And that's just absolutely crazy, because I remember when I was collecting and hunting for these, how challenging it was to find this in decent shape with the tattoos in the back. And that's what makes this book famous. It's not, believe it or not, that it has the first appearance of the Hobgoblin, that character that you see right there. I mean, that is popular, but what's key is right back here in the book, you have this little sheet that has tattoos in it. And the tattoos are inside. You can't see them. You could feel them if you rub your finger between the little paper insert there. But that is what makes this book sell so well. I took a best offer of $125 for it. It's a little bit beat up, not much, but it does have some wrinkles in it and some creases and things, some indentations on the cover. You could see here what we have is what's called a spine roll. So the book is curling up a little bit there on the side. That does take down some of the value for it. Just to give you perspective on it, I have another copy of this that I'm going to send off, likely to get graded. It looks like it's a 9.8, which would be a near mint plus book. It has the tattoos in it. If it comes back graded as such by CGC, that book will sell for approximately $1,000. Without that, if it's a near mint book, it will sell for several $100s. So either way, I'm going to make out with that other book that I have, but I sold my my worst copy of it in terms of condition here, and just got a quick $125 for it. Again, note that it is the Amazing Spider-Man. We're in that 200 range, 238. So be on the lookout if you ever see 238. It's not going to be an easy thing to find, but if you did come across it, make sure you check at the end to see if those tattoos are in there. That is the key right there. Some people will make the mistake, if they don't know to look for that and it's been pulled out, will think that right here you see on this back page, that's an advertisement for the tattoos, and some people might actually think that those are the tattoos. Those are not the tattoos. That's what they look like, but the actual tattoos are inside the insert here. Okay. Now we get down to the top 3. The top 3 most expensive and profitable items sold in my store over the past month in September. This one here, you may remember I found in one of my estate sale haul videos. I also talked about it in my Facebook group. The thing that jumped out about this to me is that it was an old military book. Old military books tend to sell very well. It's from a famous infantry in World War II, the 329 Buckshot Infantry Regiment. But the really cool thing about this, as you will see, is that the inner flap had signatures in it. And what I was able to do, once I took it home and processed a little bit, did a little research, I was able to find, this is a close-up of some of the signatures, that these signatures were matching people that were in the book. Now, the person who owned this estate was someone who had military experience, had military background, so that's how he had acquired this, but I was able to match up some of the names in here. And the great thing about that and featuring that is what happened was I received an inquiry from a relative who had the same last name actually in their eBay username as one of the people who was in this book. And the person asked me, said, hey, is my relative in here? And gave me the name. So I not only confirmed that the relative was in here, I also took a snapshot picture of it and sold it to him. He made me an offer. I knew that the offer that he made me was $100 for the book. Again, total price for the book wound up just being like $1. It was just tossed in with a whole bunch of other books that I got along with other collectibles at that sale for like $15. So I said, you know what? I know this person is really going to want the book because it's a family member. Where are you going to get it elsewhere? I just met him in the middle at $137.50 and made the sale. So quick and easy, and that person is very happy. And it feels good, by the way, you know, not just to make the money and make the flip, but to get somebody something that's so important to their family history, you know, that kind of genealogical research. People love that type of stuff, and you know, makes them really happy to get something from their family's past. So I love being able to supply people with things like that and bring parts of history back to people so that they could use it, display it, show it off to others. It brings them a lot of pride. So it's fun to do that. All right, top two. Here we go. Yes, this is wow. I mean, I marketed the heck out of this item. Pretty much does sell itself, but I really did market this. By the time I had this ready to go at the last hour of the sale, I had this up to 40 watchers on it. I put it up for a 7-day auction. What it is a promotional wrestling sign from the Syracuse area, which is where I live. Syracuse, New York, September 29th. Doesn't have a year on it, but all you have to do is a little wrestling history research to know that this match took place and these matches took place in 1989 right here at the New York State Fairgrounds, and has some very famous wrestlers in it. One of the most famous wrestlers of all time, Ric Flair, along with a picture. I mean, that's just a key there. It has a picture of him. Also a picture of Sting right there, another famous wrestler, Terry Funk. It turns out the person who bought this was a big Terry Funk fan, had met Terry Funk in the past. Incredible that I literally got this sign for about $1 at an estate sale haul. Found it just sitting there in a closet, grabbed it really quick, realized all the famous names on here. I mean, names like Lex Luger. I used to love wrestling as a kid. I didn't really follow the NWA. I followed the WWF, which is now known as WWE. But I knew of the NWA because it was always featured in the wrestling magazines that came out that I always used to check out at the newsstands when I was younger. So, and a lot of these wrestlers have eventually crossed over to the WWF/WWE. So they're just a ton of famous names. You know, it's a unique item. You're not going to find another one like this. You know, it comes right from the Syracuse area, which is good for the buyer to see. So it helps to establish some progeny for the item. And this was one, I did a whole video on this, so check out my video on auctions and how to market auctions. But this one I put up for $9.99, no reserve. I knew that some of the older wrestling signs could get up to about $500. This one, as you can see there, that's the price, right around $400, $392. You got to be patient with these types of things and realize that it's at the last minute of the sale where the bidding goes crazy if you don't have experience with auctions. This had gone up to about $192 by the last day of the sale. And what happened was literally the last minute, it still was at $192, and people just went crazy that last minute. Everyone tried to snipe it at the end, just grab it real quick. And you can see there a total of 44 bids, and that's what happened. That last minute, the price shot up double from about $200 to $400. That's always been what happens on popular auctions, even when I started using eBay back in 2000, and the same thing still happens. So don't get nervous when you have that real popular item. If you see there's 5 minutes left and it's still not quite at the price that you really wanted it, be careful about canceling it then, especially if you have bids on it, because you're gonna get basically a consequence. You get hit with fees, and if you do that enough, you really can get in trouble with eBay. So just be patient. That last minute is when the price is really going to jack up. All right. The theme of this month really should be Amazing Spider-Man, because this is one of the holy grail comic books. I remember when this came out as a kid, I grabbed a whole bunch of them off the newsstand. I wish I still had them all. But if I would have held on to them for this long, I mean, you really could get a pretty penny out of it. It's amazing that this book, in near mint condition, not even graded, just as is, like that, the raw comic book could sell for this type of price. I wound up taking a best offer of $575, my best eBay sale ever. Person got it, was happy with the book, left me positive feedback, so that's always a big relief when you make a big sale like this. Found it in the story about this one. I was at an estate clear out, and I was there for hours. I was there for like 8 hours just clearing out this estate, and I was basically standing in a giant heap of essentially I don't want to say garbage, but it was just a whole bunch of, there was literally garbage there. I mean, there was just papers that were all wrinkled up and crumpled up, and old bills and clothes, and just all sorts of just junky stuff. And then once in a while you'd find a great collectible. And so I found the manila file folder. I opened it up, didn't say anything on the outside of it. I looked inside and pulled this out, and I said, "You've got to be kidding me. I can't believe that this is Amazing Spider-Man 300. I just pulled it out." I open it, I take it out of the bag. I'm examining it, every which way from Sunday to look for defects, flaws. Could not find any. Couldn't believe it. Thought there had to be something wrong with the item, but wow, I mean, I just kept looking over and there was just nothing wrong. And so I just took a billion pictures of it, put it online at every conceivable angle pretty much, looked at it inside and out. It's famous not only because it's an anniversary issue, but because this is the first real full appearance of Venom. I mentioned him earlier, and now you could see him right there. He's the one that looks like Spider-Man swinging down from behind there. There he is. He's got the sharp teeth there right in that corner. So that's Venom. He looks like Spider-Man in the black alien costume that I showed you earlier. There's a cameo appearance of Venom in Amazing Spider-Man 299, but this is his first full appearance, and there you can see him with the mask off right there. It's also Todd McFarlane art. Todd McFarlane's the artist who did this cover here. He's famous for making these. There you can see the name McFarlane. He's still around, very famous for drawing the Spawn series through the Image comic book line once he left Marvel. He's famous for making these really just detailed images of Spider-Man and these spaghetti string type of webs. Just his art just blew everyone away back in the day when he came out. So any vintage Todd McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man book in general, if you could find, you might not find Amazing Spider-Man 300, but you wouldn't believe if you do enough searching, specifically through collections that you purchase for comics, you'll come across Amazing Spider-Man Todd McFarlane's either 298, 299, 300. I don't have any more 300s laying around, but I have some 299s and 298s, and so those sell very well too. Not quite for $575, but they still, you can get a couple hundred out of them depending on the condition. So that's it for the month. It was a very successful month. I'm hoping that October is just as successful or more. One thing I should point out here that I did not include, I did sell several of the Jack Daniels signs that put me in eBay jail over the past month for trademark violation. I am not going to feature those here because I don't want any more issues with the Jack Daniels company. They literally even reported me to Instagram for putting a picture of one of the signs on there last night and removed the content. So Jack Daniels is been real aggressive lately with anything they feel is a trademark infringement, as is their right. So I just don't want to have to deal with any issues with that here. So I just took it down. so didn't include it. But those, I did sell several of those signs for $74.99 this past month. So just so you know, if you're familiar with my prior videos, you know very well about all those signs. So that's really it. I am going to wrap this video up and get ready for another day. It is now 5 o'clock in the morning. To clarify, I do not have insomnia. I could sleep really easily. It's just really passion and motivation that gets me to do these videos at this time. I did get some sleep prior to doing this and just woke up early to make sure I could get this What Sold video done for everyone. So if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Again, make sure you show up to the first ever live show on October 3rd. 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's Wednesday night. Look forward to seeing you there. Come by the Facebook group, as I mentioned, and follow me on Instagram. That's @PrimetimeTreasure. I'll see everyone at the next video. Thanks, everyone.